So it's
Jamie, are we ready?
ssunwall@snoqualmiewa.gov.
I now call the Snoqualmie City Council meeting to order. All please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Mayhew, can you please lead us? I'll ask the city clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Jeans.
Here.
Councilmember Ross.
Here.
Councilmember Holloway.
Here.
Councilmember Mayhew.
Here.
Councilmember Lassay.
Here.
Councilmember Sundwall.
Here.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Here.
Mayor Larson.
I am here. Council, may I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this evening?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Councilmember Shepherd.
I'd like to take the warrants off of the consent agenda.
Okay. Warrants have been removed.
Mayor, quick question. The warrants are what pay employees, right?
It's what pays everything.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah. Councilmember Mayhew.
Yes, I'd like to pull AB 19-126. There's going to be a motion to refer that back to committee later, so pull it off the consent agenda.
Okay. We will do that. Any other items, council?
I would like an executive session at the end of the agenda.
All right. Do we have any objections to having an executive session?
It goes past 8:30.
Councilmember,
What is the purpose?
I think we usually just quote an RCW.
There are potentially two, one pursuant to 4230, 110, 1F, and another regarding potential litigation, 4230, 110, 1 small I, small, triple, small I.
Is there a
The purpose of an
layperson-
executive session is usually.
There
to
never is a
protect-
description of an executive session.
well, there's usually a brief description.
The one is potential litigation. The first that I read, 1F, pertains to receiving and evaluating complaints or charges brought against a public officer or employee. That's what the statute says.
Okay. All right, if there's no objection, we'll add that item to the agenda. Any other items, council? Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, the city clerk's advising that, I guess we need to, I thought it was already on the agenda, but the appreciation statement that you're going to make, we would
yes.
just note to add that as well?
Yes, and where do we put that? In presentations, I'd like to.
Yeah, we'll just do it toward the beginning of the
Yeah,
agenda.
in presentation, I'd like to put in there appreciation of the culinary arts program, Mount Si High School.
Second?
Motion and a second to add the culinary grants appreciation statement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Councilmember Ross?
Do we want to switch around the Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce and put introduction of new volunteer firefighters first? Because I see there's a lot of standing room only right now for those particular persons.
Hang on a second. Oh, I got you. Yeah, that's appropriate. I can do that. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm sure that Kelly and Earl would be okay with that. Okay.
Well, in general, can we move that to the last in the presentation so we can get the students out of here on a school night also?
You're going to be first up under the presentation, so.
All right.
All right. Any other items, council? All right. With those changes as noted, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. With that, we move on to public hearings, presentations, proclamations, and appointments. And Mayor Pro Tem Holloway, I'll turn it over to you to
Okay.
present the certificate.
And if the culinary students and the teacher will come up? We had a town hall meeting Thursday night, and culinary arts program was asked to provide dinner. It may have started out as snacks, it ended up being dinner, and we would just like to express our appreciation. So let me read this certificate of appreciation. Whereas the Mount Si High School Culinary Arts Program was invited to cater the 2010-2019 Snoqualmie City Hall Town Hall meeting, and whereas the students participated in Mount Si's Culinary Arts Program not only learned to prepare an impressive array of delicious food, they gained real-world experiences that are relevant to careers in food service industry. And whereas under the direction of Mount Si High School teacher Laura Tarp, the students get hands-on experience with developing a menu, pricing out the menu, preparing the food, cooking, serving, and setup, cleanup, and I apologize, you guys had to do dishes the next day following. Whereas the students involved in the catering of the town hall meeting included Adeline Crook, Edwina Tyan, Jennifer Galvan, Emily Dickinson, Samuel West, Gaetano May, Isabel Boyle, and John Richardson. And whereas the Mount Si High School Culinary Arts Program exceeded the expectations of the council for providing not only dishes, food, but also great presentation, service, and quality. Now for the City Council of the City of Snoqualmie wishes to recognize you and extend appreciation to Mount Si High School Culinary Arts Program presented on the 14th day of October 2019. And again, we just, all of us, I get to talk, but it's really all of them, wish to thank you for your support that night.
Or if you folks could hang on for 1 second. Just to clarify, this wasn't a mayor's town hall meeting or administration, it was the councils, and so and I wasn't able to be there, I apologize, and although I'm quite thankful, I think it appropriate for all the council, if you could quick join them for a quick photograph. Maybe on either side. There we go. Try to bunch it up, guys, or to overlap if you can.
Squeeze just a little bit. Okay.
Be very friendly.
It's your paparazzi.
And I've known Laura for many years. She's always done an extraordinary job with the students over there, made the high school quite proud. So thank you, Laura, too, for your leadership. All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so now on to more fun stuff. We have I believe it's 4 new volunteer firefighters to introduce to you tonight. And I'll ask the Deputy Chief Mike Bailey to come up and introduce them.
Thanks for having us tonight. Just wanted to go over, we have 4 new members of the volunteer firefighters to present to you tonight. The volunteers have a proud history in our department of providing valuable service to their communities. We just wanted a chance to recognize and introduce you to 4 new members that we've brought on over the last couple months. They started this process back in the spring, did training over the summer, and then at the end of the summer is when they finished their rookie books and were brought on to the department. We have 3 that have started right away, and we have 1 more that's currently in EMT school right now. So I would just like to bring them up one at a time and introduce you, to tell you a little bit about them, and come on up. So first, Anna, come up. Anna Meehan. She has just to give a quick introduction, she has a doctorate of audiology and 8 years of clinical and research experience with military service members and veterans with auditory or vestibular dysfunction and complications from combat. 700 hours of experience serving with search and rescue in Colorado before she came to us in Washington. Currently working for the Northwest Avalanche Center as on their communication team. She's been an EMT since 2018, and her husband Michael just bought a house in Snoqualmie a couple months ago, just outside the city a couple months ago. So Mayor, if you'd like to.
Yeah, we can do it one
Oh,
more.
there you go. Next will be Tanner Hillier. Come on down. Tanner was born in the Bay Area of California and went to college in Idaho, where he met his wife Haley, who's from the Snoqualmie area. That brought him back up to us here in Snoqualmie. He's interested in being a career as a firefighter in the long term. He's currently in EMT school right now. He's undertaking that. It's 1 night a month or 1 night a week, as well as 1 Saturday every week. So he's doing a 1 night and a Saturday every week for how many months? 4 months?
Yeah,
4 months. And we've gotten great remarks back from his class. Currently, he's in one of the top people in his class in regards to tests and practicals, so we're proud of that. Thanks for coming in. Can you have your helmet with the next one there? Next, we have Chris Phelan. Chris grew up in the area around here in the Sammamish and the Plateau area. He went to school at WSU and is currently working at Microsoft as a developer. He also works for King County Search and Rescue as a volunteer, and you've been with them for how many years? 9 years. He's been EMT for 5 years and currently lives in Fall City with his girlfriend, Amelie. Amelie, so close. Had it even written down too, and I still messed it up. Thanks for joining us.
I'm just doing it.
And last but not least, we have Josh Demetrescu. Josh grew up in Montana and came to Washington for college. Lived in Seattle, but moved to the Valley about 7 years ago. Currently, he's working for the district court in Seattle. He was a volunteer previously with another department, was out of it for a couple years, and decided he wanted to get back into it. So luckily, he came and is now a member with our department. He's been an EMT since 2016, and he lives in North Bend with his family. And his 2 kids, Violet and Nellie, are also here tonight, out in the audience there. Hi, guys. Thanks, Josh. And we're real happy to have them joining our departments. We really enjoy having the volunteers here serving their community. They do a great service to the career staff, helping augment us on calls and spending duty nights. So these are great individuals, and thanks for giving us the time tonight to introduce you to them. If we could maybe have a picture.
Yeah, in the center.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'll just say real quick too, on behalf of the city and the city council too, thank you guys for your service and giving so generously of your time. And for family members, if the family members of all the volunteers that raise your hand, please, you know, we're really excited to be recognized. A big thank you to you because you didn't give up meetings, for your welcome. We're really proud. We're one of the, it's kind of a dying breed to have agencies that are combined where we have volunteers and full-time firefighters, but it was part of our accreditation process. We're a rare agency that's recognized internationally for what we've accomplished here, doing a lot with a little. And I think not only does it help us stretch resources with a lot of personnel at the fire department to tend to the community's needs, but for the fire department, it creates more advocacy out for all the volunteers and folks that live out in the community. They can speak to their neighbors and friends about the complex needs of the fire department, and that's nothing but a good thing for our community. So a big thank you to all of you for doing this, and look forward to working with you. Welcome to the team.
I think we're gonna get a picture up here, guys. You don't get away that easily. Oh, I don't think we need. Oh.
Yeah.
Two. Good.
How about one with the girls?
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can take time to do.
Come on, take it down, girls. Take a picture. Come on, honey. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Want one with the sheep?
Very nice. That's a good one.
And did she want to be with her husband in a shot? Anna, did you want? Yeah.
Equal opportunity Americans. That's how we roll. Everybody gets a share.
Are there other family members? Or is this your family? Josh? Oh, I'm sorry, that's Chris. Chris, you might come up with your family? All right, we'll just give a couple
Hi, thank you.
more minutes for the dust to settle. So Earl and Kelly, thank you for your patience, but you guys, if you want to get up and get ready to, I don't know if there's a slide deck that you, okay, Jimmy, if you can cue that up for the Chamber of Commerce and get that ready? Or Mark? Beautiful little baby.
You guys ready?
Right, because we rejected.
So I know many of you, but I want to introduce myself. I'm Kelly Coughlin. I am the Executive Director for the Snow Valley Chamber. And tonight I wanted to bring our board president, which is Earl Bell, and introduce him, and he's going to do most of the speaking tonight. Earl.
First of all, on behalf of the Board of Directors, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We're excited to share with you information with respect to what we call Gateway to the Cascades. First, a little bit about the Snow Valley Chamber, just for purposes of the record. The Snow Valley Chamber of Commerce serves 2 cities and 3 communities. We serve the cities of North Bend and Snoqualmie, the communities of Snoqualmie Pass, Preston, and Fall City. I share that for a specific reason, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes. The statement of value in terms of how we think about this program is that it supplements and complements the tourism efforts of both the city of Snoqualmie and the city of North Bend. And if you want to think about the Chamber's role and how we can support the broader community, we like to think of ourselves as an umbrella. We're there to support the broader region. Each of you have individual tourism efforts that you are undertaking, and we'd like to think that we can supplement everything that you're doing as a city to bring tourism into the city of Snoqualmie. In terms of the problem, I think most of you are aware that up to 8 million people come here to the Snoqualmie Valley every year. And as best as we can determine, statistics are hard to find, less than 0.5% of those visitors are going to a second location, which is kind of crazy. If you think about the problem, we have 8 million people that are already coming to this region, and about 40,000 people, as best as we can tell, are going to a second location. And rather than have a conversation about, well, how do we get more of the 0.5% to come to Snoqualmie, North Bend, the way that we're thinking about approaching the problem is, what if we could attract more of the 99.5% that don't go to a second location? And what if we could build some excitement around getting more of those people to come, stay, play, and spend money while they're here in the valley? So broadly speaking, that's the intent of Gateway to the Cascades. On the agenda, we defined it as a tourism website, which is phase 1 of a 3-phase program. And what I was hoping to do in a couple of minutes is just give you all a broad overview. I know the LTAC committee asked us to come here tonight. We appreciate the opportunity, and our hope is we answer all of your questions, and then we get an opportunity to get more into the weeds, if you will, through committee. So let's see if I missed anything. The solution, as we think about it, is 3-phase. The first is interactive web website. If you think about the challenge, imagine being a visitor coming to the valley and say they're going to the falls. Well, right now, there really is no mechanism that has proven to be very effective to get a visitor to decide, well, where else can I go since I'm already here? The question that we're asking ourselves in trying to solve this problem was, what if there was a way to build a relationship with a visitor before they came here? What if you could personalize the way information is shared in a manner consistent with each visitor's individual desires and needs? Imagine if a visitor wanted to learn about golfing opportunities in the valley. Imagine if a visitor wanted to learn about where biking trails are, or hiking trails, or imagine wanting to visit a railway museum, or shop local charms of retail merchants. The reality is, until you have an ability to build a relationship with those people before they arrive, there is no effective way, at least that we've been able to identify, to figure out how do we solve this puzzle. Well, I'm not that smart of a guy when it comes to solving problems like this. Fortunately, we have an executive director who has been around the block a couple of times and has identified a city just on the other side of the mountains that has identified this as being a problem that they were trying to solve, and they solved it. Lake Chelan is, about 150, 200 miles from here? They get over 2.5 million visitors per year. 15 months ago, prior to launching their program, which I'll get into more in a moment, they were just north of 2 million. So they've implemented a program, they've created an outreach facility to connect with visitors by giving them information that they exactly have identified as being a need, and then through the back-end CRM system, they're able to drip out guides, they're able to drip out a calendar of events, they are able to drip out information with respect to specific types of lodging, a hotel, Airbnb, customized experience so that when visitors show up, they have an itinerary of where they're going to spend their money. Imagine if we can do something like that. The beauty of the Lake Chelan program is they're 15 months into the program. They've demonstrated success. And Kelly and I this afternoon, we spent a half an hour talking with Mike Steele, who's the executive director, Representative Mike Steele, who's been the executive director at the Lake Chelan Chamber for 14 years. And what he said, and we asked some very specific questions because, you know, we're trying to vet a low-risk way to tackle this tourism problem. And we asked how successful was the program, and the candid answer was, well, this is the first time we'd ever tried to do it. We identified a vendor who wants to work with us, and on a scale of 1 to 10, candidly, it was a 6.5 out of 7. But having worked through the bugs over a 15-month period, he said solid 8.5 to 9. So what I took away from that in further questions, would you work with this person again? Absolutely yes. Did they deliver what they promised? Absolutely yes. Were they successful at helping uncover the bugs and figuring out how to solve the problem so that the IT solution was consistent with the Chamber's needs? The answer is yes. If you look at the Chelan County, they serve 3 cities, which I thought was kind of interesting. They serve the cities of Lake Chelan, Stahicum, and Manson. Very similar to the approach that we think of ourselves as a regional chamber. Phase 1 is an interactive website. What's nice about it on the front end, and I invite all of you to go to lakechelan.com and see what we've seen. I invite you to decide what you want to find out more about, download the guides, experience the email campaign, and see if they do a good job at attracting you to go visit Lake Chelan. The website and the back end is really what supports phases 2 and 3. Don't want to spend a lot of time talking about phases 2 and 3 because it's phase 2 and 3. But if you go to their visitor center, which in Snoqualmie speak, think of the Railway Museum, think about the falls, think about other areas in the valley where there are 5.5 million other visitors to the area that we might be able to track to bring into Snoqualmie, excuse me. We have built in our preliminary plans 12 kiosk locations. The idea being you have high traffic areas. Within 2 miles, we've got Salish Lodge in the Falls. We've got the Railway Museum. We have Snoqualmie Casino. Right there in those 3 locations, we've got about 4.25, 4.5 million visitors. The experience of the visitor center is that people who are interested in learning about the region can actually play around. The beauty of the way this works is if you go to the Space Needle, they do it very similarly. You're given an opportunity to punch in your zip code. Well, wouldn't it be interesting to find out where your visitors come from? And when you're doing SEO, as a for instance, wouldn't it be nice to know where to target your SEO campaigns to the exact places where your visitors come from?
SEO? SEO acronym.
Oh, search engine optimization.
Oh, EO, okay, I thought you said CO. Okay, thank you.
If I did, that would have been my mistake. Thank you, Mayor. The third phase, which right now is in, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a concept. It hasn't been delivered. It hasn't been developed. But the idea is, as we build momentum and steam around what we're calling the movement, Gateway to the Cascades, wouldn't it be nice if we could all take advantage? Sure. Everybody who travels almost today has one of these in their pocket. And wouldn't it be nice if you could build an app with push-pin technology, very consistent with what you would find on a map application, and enable the visitor on the fly to punch pin or push pin in the locations that they want to visit so that they can build their own itinerary. It's a step more convenient than phase one, the website, and it's a continuation of the evolution. So broadly speaking, that is the Gateway to the Cascades program. Hopefully, it answered some of the questions that you had, and if there are any further questions, happy to take them today or maybe through the committee to fully vet this out. We're looking for a collaboration partner. We're not looking for funding. We want to figure out how we can build this together. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Earl. Yeah, I think the council is going to be curious about cost and some of those specifics, so perhaps we could take it to the Community Development Committee or for further.
We submitted an LTAC application.
Oh, you did? Okay.
We filled out the information. Happy to discuss it further with the committee and Councilmember Sunwall, if that would be helpful. Or if you want to ask any questions today in a public forum, happy to do that as well.
All right. Any other questions, Councilmember Shepherd?
As far as how this works, what is the way that somebody would discover this existence of this? Is it a website?
It is a website. So
How do they learn about it?
the trick is to build website activity, visitors to the site. And I'm glad you asked this question. So the way Lake Chelan did it was through search engine optimization. In other words, identifying keywords that visitors from the outside will punch in so that when a visitor punches in, like Lake Chelan, visitor or tourism opportunities in Eastern Washington, whatever the keywords are, you pop up. They also boost through Google AdWords and Facebook ads. In terms of metrics, something that I found interesting, when we started the program 15 months ago, the Lake Chelan website got about 300 visitors a day, and today they're trending north of 3,000 visitors a day. So in 15 months, they were able to get a 10x on the number of visitors to the site. And in terms of the back-end metric, the actual visitors, about a 10% increase in the last 12 months.
Have you heard of field?
Councilmember Mayhew, you had a question?
Oh, I was just going to ask, and not necessarily tonight, but as you go back to committees with this, maybe what you could share with them and ultimately with us is there's a Savor Snoqualmie website, which the city's been participating in. That's also a regional type website. So maybe help us understand how what you're proposing would be different or similar, complementary or not. Just help us see to what extent they fit together and to what extent they overlap or don't. Not for tonight. I know that's a big question, but as you go through that might be helpful.
Thank you.
Or clearly, Earl, what's Savor Snoqualmie lack that this format has?
Right.
Yep.
Councilor Sunwall.
So I know we didn't have time to touch on it tonight, which is fine. But I know the ask, if I recall, was about $40,000.
Correct.
For phase one, which is the website.
Yes.
I would want to have more detail, perhaps at the committee level, on what phases 2 and 3 look like.
Yes.
Because if we're going to spend $40,000, I want to know that the next two asks, what those are going to entail, both from a dollar perspective and what they'll do.
Yes.
Right? So we're not stuck with a $70,000 website, but $40,000 from our contribution, and it's just a website.
Correct.
And it's a beautiful website, don't get me wrong, but I would want to understand what the plan is, because to justify the 40, I think we also need to have some perspective into what the next two asks will be and what the ultimate outcome would be.
I appreciate the question, and if the roles were reversed, that's exactly the question that I would ask. Just to set expectation for the council, the phase 2 and phase 1 have been tested out at the Lake Chelan Chamber. So from a risk reduction perspective, I'm comfortable in that the CEO of the chamber over there, Mike Steele, said it's a 9, it's a solid 9. And the person that we would work with is the person that did the work for the Lake Chelan Chamber. So in terms of execution risk and cost risk, I think the work that we've done to date has been fairly good in terms of vetting out the parameters. Just caution with respect to Phase 3, this is just an idea that we have. What we're hearing, having talked to several people, is, well, yeah, you can create a custom app. That's not too hard. All you're doing is you're taking a website and you're making it mobile enabled. Well, my personal website has that. And really what you're doing is you're adding the push pin technology on top of that. So I listen to people responding, and it makes sense to me. But I'll be candid, we haven't done it. We don't know somebody that's done it. So it's hard for me to stand here before you and say that is a slam dunk with full confidence that we'll be able to execute.
So is the Snoqualmie tribe part of the chamber?
The Snoqualmie Casino is.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
But not the tribe.
Okay, so one of the questions I have is, there's an application called Field Trip, where if you're looking on a map, wherever you are, it'll pop up these little displays of things to see wherever you are. So it's another way of connecting to people if they're already in the area. And I've noticed that there's a really good presence from the Snoqualmie Casino, but there's a real absence for downtown and even for the falls. So I'd really love to see that working, and I don't know if there's a cost to that or not.
That's a very good question, and an example in my mind in terms of how innovation works. My opinion, there's a direct correlation between the speed of innovation and the speed of collaboration. And all I'm sharing with you today is something that the Lake Chelan Chamber has rolled out. That's not to say that we can't have conversations about how to make this better, so appreciate your question.
How does this, is this in addition to the kiosk program, or are you pivoting to this instead? Or?
No, Mayor Matt, the kiosk program is Phase 2.
Oh, I'm sorry, you probably said
the way that it works, at least at Lake Chelan, the website is the foundational space where all the information resides, and then it interacts with the remote kiosks.
All right, you probably said that I was I've been toggling between the Savor Snoqualmie and this website, or Chelan.
Yeah.
To sort of compare the pieces, so.
We also have the phases written out.
Councilmember Holloway.
So, help me with one thing I'm struggling here. I think very few people drive to Lake Chelan, get out of the car, look at it, and then get back in the car and go somewhere else. And a lot of our attractions are that, where you drive there, get out, look, get back in the car and leave. That's why we have such a low participation. Your starting point is different. If I'm there for a week at Lake Chelan, I'm way more likely to go look for those other events to go do. But if I'm just on a look and go, I'm less likely to do this internet exploration you're talking about. How do you get past that hurdle?
So the way that I think about that question, not to say that that's right, but it's the way that I think about it.
I ask wrong questions all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm an insatiable question asker. If the roles were reversed, you would die before I finished asking questions. The way that I'd like to think about it, and I think many of our board members do as well, what we're trying to do is build a relationship with a visitor before they show up. And what I mean by that is, say, someone's traveling from Portland, Oregon, as a for instance, and they decide for whatever reason they're going to go visit their family and they want to go to the falls. And so they do a search, and because the search engine optimization works, because the website traffic is dramatically increased, the website pops up. And then the website goes through its interactive phase of asking questions. What are you interested? Why do you want to come? What else do you like to do? And it's through that process, I like to golf. Oh, well, I guess I don't need to go golf at Newcastle. I can golf at one of the local courses here. We're bringing mountain bikes. Well, geez, there are tons of trails around here. Need a place to stay. Oh, I don't have to go to Issaquah. Isn't that interesting? And by the way, I'm hungry. Where can I go eat?
Okay.
So conceptually, that's how we see this program working here in the Valley.
Councilmember Ross.
So I love the idea of the website. I look forward to looking at the Lake Chelan website, and also the kiosks. I think if you didn't get a chance to look at the website before they arrive, then while they're standing there at the falls, they say, now what? So now they can figure out where they want to go have dinner, or I don't know, do a little shopping or something. So I think both of that, the combination would be great. So
Thank you for
thanks
that.
for working on this.
Team sport,
Yes.
but thank you.
All All right, sounds like more conversations to come. Thank you both again for taking the time out of your evening.
Well, thank you for having us. We truly appreciate it. And on behalf of our board of directors, thank you very much.
And no one's going to be insulted if you guys enjoy the rest of your evening at this point. All right, so at this time, I'd like to appoint Yvonne Gilbert to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for position 2 for a term ending December 31st, 2019, and Jolion Johnson to the Planning Commission, position 3 for an unexpired and full term ending December 31st, 2023. May I have a motion to confirm, council?
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second to confirm as stated. Any discussion? I didn't see Yvonne here tonight, but Julian is here, or Joe's here. So Joe, thank you for stepping up and being willing to jump in. Did you want to make a few comments? Yeah.
Uh-oh. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This summer, my wife gave me the greatest gift in the world, our daughter, Tara. Snoqualmie is now our daughter's hometown. She is fortunate to live in what has been named the best city in Washington by several state and national media outlets. Snoqualmie is beloved by its residents and visitors because of its beauty, sitting amongst mountains, rivers, trees, and waterfalls, and because of its world-class schools, rich and varied history, and small-town feel. It is an honor to be appointed by the council to be a member of the Planning Commission, and I hope that in this capacity I can set an example to my daughter of positive civic engagement. I look forward to preserving what makes Snoqualmie special while making it accessible to all who wish to experience the Snoqualmie way of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Any further discussion or comments, council? And as you know, Yvonne is the manager at the New Hampton Hotel, and per the LTAC rules, has to be some, like a couple members from lodging organizations or businesses that contribute to the LTAC monies and folks that are typical recipients of that. So
Called a legal conflict of interest.
exactly, it's a required conflict of interest. Yeah. All right, so if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you, Joe. Thank you. All right. So moving on to citizens' comments. At this time, it would provide opportunity for anyone who would like to speak to any item that is not on the agenda tonight. But first, a few ground rules. One, Snoqualmie citizens who are not present have a right to have their elected representatives perform their duties on behalf of the city in an efficient and orderly manner. Therefore, comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Second, please wait to be recognized. Come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Third, direct your comments to the council as a whole and not to individual members. And in order to protect the privacy rights of employees and protect members of the public from legal liability, please note that this is not the appropriate venue to make complaints or accusations about an implied or named city employee or agent. Such oral comments will not be allowed, but can be submitted in writing to the city clerk. Fourth, please note that this is not a time to ask questions of the council, mayor, or staff, or to engage in debate. The council will simply and respectfully and quietly listen to your concerns. Fifth, please respect the decorum of these proceedings, as all due respect will be afforded to you. And last, this is election time, and in compliance with election laws, please refrain from any political campaigning in violation of RCW 42.17A.555. And please note that public comments at this time in the agenda are not recorded per council action on September 9th. It's not video recorded, but it is audio recorded. So with that, is there anybody who would like to speak at this time?
Is there
Becky.
anyone in the sign-up sheet? There was a list.
We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed below being actioned by one motion. Action items include minutes for the September 23rd, 2019 regular city council meeting. Other approvals include Agenda Bill 19123, set a public hearing before the City Council for Monday, October 28, 2019 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter regarding the annual flood plain management repetitive loss plan. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as stated. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Holloway. Councilmember Holloway, was your hand up?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, is there any member of the public that would like to comment on any of these items prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, all those in favor? Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, with that, we move on to reports. Parks and Public Works Committee, Agenda Bill 19121, Resolution 1519, awarding a Small Works Public Works contract and authorizing execution of a Small Works contract with Iron Creek Construction, LLC, for the 2019 sidewalks repair and replacement project.
The city has a significant number of sections of sidewalk which are broken due to tree roots and/or poor subgrade. We have solicited and received 6 bids to address some of the broken sidewalks. Iron Creek Construction, LLC, submitted the lowest responsive bid at $278,722, including sales tax. We are seeking the council's authorization to award the contract. Move to approve Resolution 1519, awarding a Small Works Public Works contract to and authorizing execution of a Small Works contract with Iron Creek Construction, LLC, for the 2019 sidewalk repair and replacement project, and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19121 as stated by Councilmember Sunwall. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, is there any discussion, council? Yeah, Councilmember Ross and Councilmember Shepherd.
So does this take care of all sidewalk trippers within Snoqualmie, everywhere? I mean, it looks like there's 330.
Should have let off.
We wish.
Okay.
Is that all there is?
Oh,
Is that all there is? Is that what you said? No, those would include grindings, which we've already dealt with a number of those last year. This has approximately 80 particular sites that we're going to be doing. In the overall list, there's about 100.
So to prioritize then?
Correct.
I think the city attorney would like the council to consider using another description.
Something other than sidewalk?
Okay, yeah. Proceed, continue.
So replacement program is what I meant.
Oh, that are going to be replaced. Yes.
It's 80?
Yeah,
But is it-
approximately 80 for this project. But we have another 20 or so beyond that. And that's currently, if no more tree roots come up or sidewalk pieces come up, then yeah.
Well,
So it's a list in progress.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd.
Hey, Ben. I have a stack of them.
So these are locations of all the uneven sidewalks?
Well,
I saw a map with all the dots.
this,
Already saw it.
this is one that we didn't have an opportunity to get in
Oh, okay. Future replacement, okay.
So,
Councilmember Shepherd, go ahead.
yeah, so well, I noticed that we have a lot more dots, thanks, on the ridge than we do downtown. Can you explain why that is?
We have a significantly,
2 words, soils conditions.
well, that's actually the biggest thing. The soil conditions are horrible, and the trees don't have, in the ridge area of the city, enough space to grow, so they come up.
But we have,
They can't go down into the soil, so they go along the surface and lift the sidewalks.
And true, we do have a number of areas in downtown area of the city that do have some sidewalks that are bad, and we are going to be fixing the number of those with the infrastructure projects that are going to be coming through. For example, the Newton Street that's going to be happening next year, and projects like that.
so,
Brian, I think to still address your question before you shift question, Councilmember Shepherd, it's notable on this map, and Brian, you can confirm or not, the city was not aware of how poor the soils conditions were in Snoqualmie Ridge 1 when they designed the tree standards and the landscaping standards. And so when we realized those problems were manifested, we changed the standards when the approval of Snoqualmie Ridge Phase 2 came along. And I know it's quite a bit newer, and you don't have a full map here, but I'm not seeing quite nearly as many dots on that portion, because the trenching, the drainage, everything else was much deeper, or amended soils that had to be stirred up and mixed with other soils so that the roots could grow down. So we don't anticipate the same severity of problems on Phase 2.
True.
So is this for removing and replacing, or is it just for grinding?
No, this is specifically for removing and replacing.
Because I know I go downtown and there's just so many sidewalks that are in such bad repair.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
And we are looking into those also. This is, and let me reassure you that this is part of a repair and replacement program. This is really the first big project that we have for that program, and we are going to have more in the future as well. We just prioritized these.
Brian, would it be accurate to say that you don't see dots on this map because the sidewalks downtown aren't part of this program? Many of those are part of those individual street projects downtown.
That's true too.
Where we're removing poor panels, lifted panels, and retaining, sidewalks in good condition, and then supplementing those with.
Similar as the Greek Streets infrastructure project, there were portions of sidewalk that we replaced because they were broken and trip hazards, not the entire length.
And they're not on this map because you've already worked on them, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Jeans and Councilmember Mayhew.
Brian, what's the distinguishing features of the 20 or so that are not being done now, they're being done in the future? Are they replacement also, or the scope is not determined?
We are considering them a replacement, and with the funding that we have, we may be able to do some of those also. But for the project and for this award, it's just going to be the ones in blue. But just note that the ones in red are there for a reason.
And Brian, when you're talking about replacing a panel, I don't think we want to just invite and be back. We're doing the same panel again in 5 years from now. You're
Correct.
doing something to put a root barrier in, or maybe the trees being removed, or what's being done in that regard?
Well, the goal is...
And that's part of the cost, I assume.
And that is part of the cost. We work very closely with Phil Bennett, our city arborist, who you are all familiar with. And our goal was to save as many trees as possible. Some of what we were doing is we were trying to think outside the box to save the trees. Some are root ramps, which, I can get into, but there was different construction types that we're using to, if we can save the tree, we can. If we can't, the tree gets removed and ground down. But to answer your question, yes, everything is meant to not have to come back and replace the sidewalk in 5 years or more.
Councilmember Mayhew.
Yeah, so I just want to follow up on Councilmember Shepherd's question. I think Councilmember Jeans might have been trying to get at this as well. So I hear what you're saying, that a lot of the other locations where there may need to be sidewalk work are happening as part of other projects. I'm glad to hear that. What I'm trying to get is a sense of, as we pick these, what I got out of Councilmember Shepherd's question was, when I look around downtown, how do we get a sense of how many spots might need work that are happening in other projects versus those that maybe need work but are not happening in other projects? So as we say yes or no to this proposed set, how do we understand what we didn't address today and that isn't being addressed by other projects? So sort of what's left to address? Because we get this sense from the red dots here of things that are left to address, but I think what you're saying is there probably are some other places. I'm not sure what you were saying, so that's where my question is.
Well, let me clarify. This particular map is only for the sidewalk repair and replacement program, okay? And again, as I said earlier, this is a living document, meaning that I'm sure that we're going to have some additions, and as projects come through and fix different areas, a lot of these dots are going to go away, but new ones will come about. So this does not include the Greek Street infrastructure project. It doesn't include the Phase 2 infrastructure project. It doesn't include the Newton Street. So this is only for this portion. Now, we could do that. We could add all of these other dots, but I didn't want to over-clutter them.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to drive that. So
sure.
would it be correct for me to make, would it be correct for someone to make the following statement? With the blue dots here and the red dots that are yet to be addressed, plus the other streets and sidewalks programs that you mentioned, there are no other current sidewalk issues. Issues is too broad. No other sidewalk, tree conflicts that we need to address.
Okay. Again, just to speak on the, quite frankly, the limitation of this map, this is the repair and replacement. What Councilmember Ross was talking about that had the 331 or 330 different places, that was the replacement and the grindings. But again, if we were to try and put that all in one map, it would just be a great bingo card. So it would be a lot of dots.
Sorry, just one. So if someone lived somewhere in this old historic Snoqualmie area and had a concern about something out, and it's not one of these few dots that I see here, then, and they were to approach one of us and say, I'm worried about this sidewalk, this tree lifting the sidewalk in front of my house, we could make the statement to them, don't worry, it's either in this project or it's in one of those other projects, it's already approved and it's being fixed. Would that be a correct statement to make?
Well, it would depend on the location. All of our dots here, there's an address that goes with those. Now,
I think what he's trying to say,
okay.
Brian, is we could take the same map and just come up with one other colored dot on the legend and say downtown Greek Street projects or something, and then populate the map with the areas that those projects are identifying.
Yeah, I'm
So-
not saying it well, because I can see how that, what I'm really trying to get at, is there anything, so I trust you and believe that everything in those streets projects that you mentioned is taking care of everything in those areas. And I see what's being taken care of here. What I'm wondering is, after taking those projects you mentioned and this, is there anything else, or do we believe there's nothing else? As of today, we believe that it comprehensively covers things. So that's my question.
Wait,
Councilmember Hall.
Point of order. In essence, your question is, once you're done vacuuming downstairs, there will be no more dust.
It's not a point of order.
Well, it's the same thing. This is the maintenance of the sidewalks. Trees will continue to grow. Conditions will continue to change. This is an ongoing maintenance activity that we have to go through on sidewalks.
I think his question is a little different. He's saying, are we only vacuuming half of the downstairs, or are we doing the whole downstairs?
That's my question.
He is doing, of these particular ones, he's doing 80% of the known conditions requiring this kind of work.
Is that accurate, Brian? 80%?
I would say that of what we know of right now, I would say that's accurate.
So there's
Now-
there's about 20% out there of the living room you still haven't accounted for how you're going to vacuum it.
True.
True. He's run out of room in the bag.
But
Yeah,
again,
we need to find more money to fund that.
I would like to reassure you that it's going to be an ongoing thing. And with the current ones, if there are, now we've actually had complaints or concerns about certain areas, and they say, okay, well, where's your address? And we can look it up on our list, and we say, yes, that is on our list. If it's not, then we go out, make an assessment, and say, yes, that should be on the list. So as of this moment, this is what we have. But if somebody has a concern, I would encourage them to contact us and let us know.
Councilmember Sunwell.
So I can appreciate that we want to have the kind of grand master plan of our sidewalks here, but we have a fixed amount of money, and that's what this agenda bill is about. We have a fixed amount of money that we're going to spend on repairing sidewalks, which is awesome. The blue dots are the ones roughly that we're going to do, and that's what this agenda bill is about. It's not really about future sidewalks. We know there will be future sidewalks that we need repair. We know there are ones that will pop up that aren't on here because a resident will call and say, hey, what about this one? Like you just said, call us and we'll add it. We'll put a pretty dot on there, right? But the point of this agenda bill is to approve the $278,000 so you guys can start repairing approximately 80% of the identified panels, right?
Correct.
Okay. So,
Any further discussion, council? Councilmember Mayhew.
Yeah, I'll just say, I'm frustrated right now because I'm completely in favor of doing this work, but I just don't have an answer to my question. I don't like the idea that we may be, using the mayor's analogy, we may be vacuuming one side of the basement and not the other side. And I just would like to feel confident that we're putting the same amount of vacuum effort on the whole basement. And I just somehow, I'm not feeling that yet, so I'm left with that question in my head. I'm not against vacuuming, let's go vacuum, but I'm very worried that we've picked one side of the house, the basement, to vacuum and haven't paid as much attention to the other half, and I just wish I could receive more assurance on that, so.
Well,
Well, you make it sound more depressing, making us down in the basement now.
Wait, did you not say the basement? I thought you did.
It's the living room.
Living room, not the
Councilmember Holloway.
basement, the living room. My kids make a mess of the basement,
But,
that's where I vacuum
Brian,
the most.
I'm hearing the same thing Councilor Mayo is. It just seems like a muddled answer. I think it's a pretty simple question. There's no harm in just saying, this is what we think we can tackle right now. We know there's a bit more we could do. We'll come back with you in next year, or 6 months, and go after. I mean, or is this getting everything that we're aware of now? We think we're able to tackle it with this.
What we think this is, and what we've identified, are the highest risk to the city locations to repair right now. That's what this is, mitigating the highest risk exposure for the city.
Right. They have identified 100 locations requiring this kind of attention. They have funding to do 80. That's what's being asked tonight.
I just wish they'd say that.
There will be 20 left, which are of lesser concern, that we will have to come back and address, as well as there will be new discoveries in the future that get added to that list. This is an ongoing activity.
I hear you say it, why won't they say that?
They did say that.
Okay, so there are no other reds anywhere down in this area. There are no other reds.
not that will be handled with this particular project.
That's not the same answer that you gave. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well,
I'm getting
this
kind
is-
of frustrated
this
by
is-
this. I'm getting kind
Do
of
you
frustrated
disagree
by
with my
this.
statement?
No.
No. So if you're satisfied with my answer, it is, in other words, is their position.
I'm not satisfied with the answer.
Councilor May, this goes back to what I was saying. What would be helpful then is to come up with a different colored dot for downtown Greek Street projects and populate a map with those dots so you could see if those are being addressed as well, or you could kind of see portionally what's being addressed. And you shook your head and said, no, that's not what I want, but.
Well, that may solve it. I just want to know that we don't know about any other of these types. I see blues and I see reds. I just want to make sure that we've done the work. We don't think there are any other reds in historic Snoqualmie. I just want to make sure that's what we believe. And I heard an answer that was that I thought was very good, which is we've prioritized these. We're doing the high-risk ones now, and that we'll come back with the lower-risk ones later. That makes a ton of sense, as long as the whole city got equal coverage in that. That's what I want to make sure of.
We have assessed the entire city. There's a lot of concern, and there's a difference between a potential risk to us, which is essentially a situation that could cause someone to potentially trip. That's what we've identified. There's a lot of sidewalk, particularly in the old part of town, that is cracked, and it's an aesthetic concern. We get a lot of complaints. I've dealt with several just today, where it's just an aesthetic concern. Yes, they're ugly. People perceive them to be a safety issue or a trip hazard or what have you, but they really aren't. So there are lots of those, and we could have a color for those and essentially be most of the old town. We do want to get to those eventually, but we have not identified those as a priority because we don't perceive a lot of those as a risk to the city right now when we have other higher priority ones to repair.
Thank you, that's what I was looking for, thank you.
Councilmember Shepherd, Councilmember Sunwell.
So what's the criteria for it being a higher risk? What exactly goes into that?
Can we take this conversation in executive session? You guys are killing me. Let's just take up some of this in executive session if we could. Councilmember Sunwell.
Move to call the question?
Second.
Question's been called. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, question's called. Back to the original motion, and we're going immediately to a vote with no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes. Thank you. All right. Is there any other report for Parks Public Works Committee?
That should do it.
All right. I want to catch where I assume the fire eye falls under F&A?
F&A.
Okay.
Not public safety.
Community Development Committee, Agenda Bill 19124, approval of Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommendation for funding allocation for Snoqualmie winter lights.
The Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, LTAC, is responsible for requesting, receiving, and evaluating applications requesting funds for tourism-related programs in Snoqualmie, determining eligibility of the applicants, and providing a recommendation of hotel motel tax allocations to the City Council. According to RCW 67.28.1816, Section 2B, 2I, the municipality may choose only recipients from the list of candidates and recommended amounts provided by the local Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Move to approve Lodging Tax Advisory Committee recommendation for funding allocation for Snoqualmie Winter Lights 2019. May I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19124 as stated by Councilmember Mayhew. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Anna.
Anna Sotelo, 39075 Southeast Gamma Street. I would just want to bring up the LTAC meetings, and this meeting I wanted to attend, and there's been now, it's going on 2 years, there's only been one meeting over the last 2 years that has been on the calendar. I'm not blaming staff at all. What I'd really like to see, and again, this kind of goes to the LTAC meeting being on the calendar, and kind of goes into the whole transparency thing. And it kind of brings me back to last week when I was at the candidate meeting and people were talking about ways, are we transparent and how do we get this information? But here's the problem. If I don't know when to attend the meeting, I can't be part of it. And that's where the transparency problem really is. So again, members, are you going to get the controls to know that every single LTAC meeting or any council meeting is on the calendar so that we can all observe it? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Anybody else? All right. Any discussion, Council? Councilmember Shepherd.
So I'm for the lights, but I'm just curious about the LTAC budget. How are we tracking this? I know that we looked.
Point of order.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with Christmas lights. How we track LTAC funds broadly has nothing to do with this agenda bill.
Sustained, yeah.
Happy to have that conversation, it just has nothing to do with this agenda bill.
Just ask the council members to keep their comments or questions focused on the agenda bill. Any other discussion, council? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nope.
All right, motion passes. Any other report for Community Development Committee?
Yes, just wanted to make the council aware at our next meeting 2 weeks from now. The CDC is planning to ask for a roundtable meeting 1 hour before our normal meeting time, the purpose of which is to have a presentation on affordable housing policy options that are available to a council. As we think ahead to our goal on affordable housing and also our more near-term need to deal with HB 1406 and what our response is as a city in preparing us to handle or to go through those, it seemed like a good first step to give us an overview because the kinds of policy options that are available are much broader than they were 20 years ago, when a lot of what we have in place here in Snoqualmie was designed. So to really get a flavor of what the sort of menu of options are and give us some understanding of those, to help us then choose those that we might want to dig into in the short term for 1406, maybe for the longer term, more broadly for our affordable housing. So just make you aware of that for your calendars, and also let you know that we're also considering asking members of 2 relevant commissions to also attend with us, because they might also benefit from that information. No further report, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance Administration Committee, I want to pull the agenda bill from the consent agenda, Agenda Bill 19126, authorize the purchase of FireEye cybersecurity equipment from Wright Systems Incorporated.
That was going back to committee.
Well, I think.
I'm queuing it up for the FNA, the chair of the FNA to,
Oh,
I know, and all of a sudden the agenda package is not working for me. Can you bring that one up real quick? Move to authorize the purchase of FireEye cybersecurity equipment from Wright Systems Incorporated. May I have a second?
second.
motion and a second to approve Agenda Bill 19126 as stated by Councilmember Holloway. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, any discussion, Council?
Yes.
Chair of the committee?
All right. When this was discussed in FNA, committee had issues with the agenda bill as presented. Some issues remain. As such, I would like to motion this to, I'd like to motion to refer this back to committee to address further issues in regards to this.
Second.
All right, motion and a second to refer back to committee. Any discussion, Council? All those in favor? Oh, Councilmember
Aye.
Shepherd? Hang on. Councilmember Shepherd?
I just wanted to make one observation, that I noticed that the amount of the bid was precisely that of what the budget was. And I just wanted to, when you could put it back into committee, which I'll vote for, just thought I'd make that as an observation.
All right. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried to send back to committee. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the warrants.
Move to approve the warrants as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the warrants as stated by Councilmember Holloway. Any member of the public that would like to comment on this item prior to action? Seeing no one move forward, any discussion, Council? Councilmember Shepherd.
So I had one question this week, and it had to do with a warrant having to do with a doubling of what we're spending on Meadowbrook. Now, I'm not opposed to spending on Meadowbrook. I just wanted to see the documentation of that doubling. And so that was the question that I really didn't feel that I got a good answer to. I did get a response from Robert Hamoud, basically saying that they would have to go through videotapes to identify where council had approved that spending. And I felt that that was a pretty weak process on our part. So this has more to do with our process than it has to do with not approving spending money on Meadowbrook Farm.
Councilmember Holloway.
So I guess in part I disagree with the answer you got. The short answer is the warrant is in alignment with a budget as approved by council in its biennial budget.
And we don't bring budget documents back with every warrant
No,
attached.
no.
Councilmember Shepherd.
I would just like to be able to see a reference to a document that would delineate what the amount was that should be available for that spending.
Councilmember Mayhew.
I would just point out to fellow council members having some experience with approving check packages in my career. I would just let you know that it's normal and routine that you would have to check against budget, and that is not usually something that is part of a budget package. Having said that, it should be very easy when asked for accounting staff to be able to show where how that ties back into the budget. In this case, I feel it has, but there was a bit of hiccup. So I think my understanding is the Finance Department's taken that under advice, that they've noted that, and that they'll seek to make that a little more clear so that when that happens, but I do not believe that would ever normally be part of a budget package, for what that's worth.
All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, motion carries. So going back down to the regular agenda, Agenda Bill 19128, Resolution 1520, declining the most recent Skyview Parks District aquatic facility proposal and requesting further refinement of options for the Snoqualmie Community Center expansion to add a 6-lane competitive swimming pool, exercise, recreation, and other multi-purpose facilities, and providing for other matters related thereto.
On August 12th, the city of Snoqualmie adopted resolution number 1508, which authorized and requested the mayor and administration to further refine the proposed Snoqualmie Community Center expansion project. On May 7th, 2019, the mayor met with Skyview MPD about partnering on their 46,549 square foot regional aquatic center. The estimate total cost for the Skyview Aquatic Center is $43 million with an estimated city contribution of $19 million. This partnership would not address the much-needed expansion of the city's community center, which would be modified at an estimated $6.5 million. Because of the financial burden with the Skyview MPD proposal, the mayor is recommending declining the Skyview MPD proposal and continue to develop options for proposed community center expansion, including a 6-lane competition pool. Move to adopt Resolution 1520, declining the most recent Skyview Parks District aquatic facility proposal and requesting further refinement of options for the Snoqualmie Community Center expansion to add a 6-lane competition swimming pool, exercise, recreation, and other multi-purpose facilities, and provide for other matters relating thereto.
Second.
Motion and second to approve Agenda Bill 19128 as stated by Councilmember Holloway. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment to this item prior to action? Yes, go ahead. You just state your name and address for the record, please.
3 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. I can do it in 2, that's my goal. My name is
We're gonna-
Callie Wilson. I live in North Bend. I am a resident of the Snoqualmie Valley, and I have been following your guys' meetings for some time now, school board meetings, Skyview meetings, et cetera. I've seen many of you there. My question before you move it to a bond is, this is news to me that this meeting was happening tonight with this resolution until I received this information earlier today, so it's important to me to be here. I wish more community members knew about it so they could be here too. I have some questions about some of the numbers that are on here. I know that you're not going to answer me directly, but I would like you guys to consider them. According to that, you have listed as $6.5 million for a community center expansion, which would leave approximately $3.5 million left over for a swimming pool. Total, if you decided to expand the YMCA to include a swimming pool, you are stating that you would potentially get on one page $2.5 million from the Y, and another page up to $2.2 million from the Y. Those numbers don't match up. And even if that was, we take the higher of the number to expand the YMCA site, which at a previous meeting has been stated to not be adequate in size to hold a 6-lane facility with parking issues and so on, I don't understand how you guys would get a pool that potentially could be 6 lanes with $12.5 million. Because if you do the math, it doesn't work out. And I really would like you guys to consider that prior to making any further comments. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna.
Anna Sotelo, 39075 Southeast Gamma Street. Attending the FNA meeting last week, one, I really appreciated Council Holloway's questions on what was being wordsmithed. I really appreciated that. One of the things that got wordsmithed that really bothered me was taking out that a bond would be used, that it got taken out and it's stating that we're going to use money to pay for it. taking out that part about a bond, because that's misleading to the people not knowing. I mean, yeah, sure, we use money earned to pay for a bond, but leaving out that fact that there's a bond is misleading. And I really thought that that was wordsmith and misleading, and I really would encourage citizens to listen to that meeting to really understand the magnitude of how that sounded. The other thing that's really concerning me is this talk, well, one, I don't even think a resolution needed to happen, and that's something that Councilmember Holloway said in the committee meeting. Resolution doesn't need to happen about saying that we're not going to continue anything with Skyview. Two, I've spoken now with many school board members and administration. I worked very hard to get that school bond passed, and I was not under the impression if there was leftover money that it would just be done. There would need to be, the school has to go through so many hoops in order to spend that money, and you guys are acting like it's a done deal. They would have to go through so many hoops to spend that money, and before that would happen, I would be strongly advocating that all of our schools get ADH, accessible, and that things that need to be happen in our schools be used with that money, or it be used, returned to the taxpayers. But I do not think that when I promoted that bond, and I sold that bond to people, that was not what I expected leftover reserves to be used for. So I would really encourage all council members to talk to the school board and find out.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else from the public who would like to comment at this time? Mark?
Mark Jocelyn, President, Skyview Metro Parks, North Bend. The Park District will continue to work to meet the needs for aquatic facilities and our constituents, including the fine folk of Snoqualmie. That is our mission, to serve those who come. Over a year ago, we commissioned a feasibility study. The City of Snoqualmie declined to collaborate in that effort. We received the final report last week, and our board has not met since. Now, since we paid for it, we reserve the right to decline it first, okay? There you go. There has been no offer or proposal to Snoqualmie. There is no proposal on the table, folks. You know how this works. We did a study, back came a result. We haven't even met to discuss it ourselves and decide a next step. So for Pete's sakes. So there is a scheduled meeting for November. We hope to meet. If you do not want to talk to us, just say so, but you really don't need a resolution. A phone call would do. We're mature, we can take it, but it's a little silly. One of the most valuable aspects of our just released study is the numbers. They are real, current, defensible, not always welcome numbers. They are very conservative estimates. They account for the challenges of the site, just like you face challenges building on a slope on the ridge. I am disappointed they are so high. I pushed back, but to build as planned, according to our nationally recognized consultants, it's $779 a square foot, not $600. And this does not include site preparation. The Snoqualmie administration proposal includes 10.5 to 14,000 square feet of wet space, roughly a third of the size of what our feasibility study proposes. But at $779 per square foot, that's almost $11 million, and that becomes 13 with sales tax and design fees and dry space. You're up over $20 million. That's what it's going to cost to actually build, I believe, what is being proposed. I expect either your scope will shrink or you'll need additional funds. You might consider building a smaller facility to accommodate older and younger populations. The proposed competitive pool space and a single space conflicts with a wise business model. Will lessons and meets happen at the same time? The Park District will continue on its path to provide the aquatics facility the Valley community has told us that they want and desire. We continue to hope that you will choose to work with us and support our important and ongoing efforts to improve the quality of life for our shared Valley community. You have different ideas. That's great. But hopefully we can be in conversation going forward.
I have to treat you the same as...
Won't you be our neighbor?
All right. Mark, did you want to submit your comments to Jody for the record? All right. Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this time? Thank you, Mark. All right, there's no one else at this time. Council, any discussion? Councilmember Jeans, Councilmember Holloway.
I support this measure. I support the whereases and the conclusion of rejecting whether it's an offer or a suggestion but I think I would like to add 3 elements to this document. And I'll handle them separately, present them separately and get your approval or non-approval for these three items. In the whereases, I want to add a whereas, because part of these whereases give food for thought as to why we're taking this action. And I think it's important that we document the fact that we have gone to the citizens in votes. We have gone to the citizens with a
The survey.
no, the survey.
Past votes, you mean, in the current, recent survey?
Actually, I just want to have, as one of the whereases, the fact that we had a town hall meeting that was, had a lot of vigorous discussion from the citizens and generally encouraged us to move forward with an expansion of the Y, including an aquatic element to the Y. And I suggest this language that if you will approve, that I'll share with Jody as follows. On June 9th, residents attended a town hall meeting where the mayor presented an overview of the city's proposed expansion of the community center, including an aquatics element. After discussion among the residents, there was general agreement to move forward, period.
Did you
Is
want
there
to?
a second to my?
Second.
Okay, motion and second is stated by Councilmember Jeans. Any discussion? Councilmember Shepherd.
I was at the meeting, and that wasn't my perception of what the mood of the room was.
Councilmember Mayhew.
I was at that meeting, and that is my perception of what the mood was, but I think individual perceptions are probably not important. The question is, do we think that's a correct statement to add as a whereas? I believe it is.
Councilmember Losay.
I was not at that discussion, and I did not get the impression that there was favorable one way or the other. I think it was meant to be informational, and putting in a statement that indicates that there was favorability for that would be misleading and inappropriate for this document. Therefore, I do not support it.
Councilmember Jeans.
I tried to very conservatively express this. They did not vote. There was not overwhelming agreement as to what it was and how it would be done. But I think there was a general agreement that we ought to move forward rather than just sit on it.
I was at the meeting, I
Councilmember Ross?
concur with that.
And Councilmember Summerall.
Move to call the question, this amendment, proposed amendment.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to call the question. All right, so with, all in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, question's been called. Now to the original amendment to the motion. We're voting on Councilmember Jean's amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No?
Okay, I think I have a 4-3. Councilmember Holloway, you were affirmative?
I was a nay.
All right,
I
so
love you, Bob, but it was a nay.
Oh, it was a nay. Okay.
Nay, we have 4 nays.
All right, so the amendment is not approved, Bob. Can you move to your second one then?
Can we do,
Could you do a roll call vote? Councilmember Jeans?
yeah?
Councilmember Ross?
Yay. Yes.
Yes. Okay, Councilmember Holloway?
Nay.
Councilmember Mayhew?
Yes.
Councilmember Losay?
Nay.
Councilmember Sumwall?
Nay.
Councilmember Shepherd?
No.
Okay, so it's 3 yeses and 4 nos.
Got it. A second
The amendment
proposed,
fails. Go ahead.
a second proposed whereas addition to what we have before us. This would be placed after the side view indicated the cost was 43 million. I would offer the following. Side view did not reveal the location, which is important to the citizens of Snoqualmie, or whether that would be an additional cost. Period.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to amend as stated by Councilmember Jeans. Any discussion, council? Councilmember Shepherd?
Would you mind rephrasing that? Can you say it? I didn't hear it.
I think she
Oh,
wants
I'm
you to
sorry.
restate it, yeah, not rephrase.
Sorry.
Skyview did not reveal the location,
Oh.
which is important to the citizens of Snoqualmie, or whether there would be an additional cost.
So I would add that I know there were 3 or 4 of us at the school board meeting where board member Jocelyn did commit or make the statement that if Snoqualmie was to join the Skyview district, they would commit to building it in Snoqualmie, I believe on the parcel across the street from the middle school. So I don't know if that affects your amendment, Councilmember Jeans, or not.
Actually, it emphasizes the need to have that in there because different people have said different thing at different public and different public venues, and I can't. I didn't hear that, and so there is no indication that property is for sale or would be for sale, and therefore I think it's an awkward thing. And as to the location, I question whether they could build a 12 to 14-foot deep pool in at that topography with the limitations with respect to water.
The floodway. Yeah. Councilmember Ross?
I think the important point is of that the cost, my understanding is the cost does not include the cost of the land. So it will be more expensive than the $49 million.
If at the Snoqualmie location, as I understand. The land costs were included at the Torgerson Park location, but not at the, I'm looking to Mark to see if you have firms.
It's 43 million. It's
Mark-
49 if we have to parcel it out.
Mark, do you want to get up and clarify? If the council members are having a question to clarify. Because I think at the subsequent meeting when you guys, I'm sorry, if you could come when we get it on the recording, there were council members that went to your subsequent public meeting last week, and I think the answer was that the land acquisition and cost development costs were not included in the proposal to build it at the site across from the middle school. But when you talked to the school board, I believe you said they were included, but that I assume was the Torgerson Park location.
Mark Johnson, Skyview Parks. For the public record, I have never stated that the site in Snoqualmie is the parcel across from the middle school. Those are not my words. I'm not anywhere in the public record saying as much, just to be clear.
Okay.
Now, I'm not contradicting the mayor.
Well, that perhaps helps, Councilmember Jeans.
I am simply, you sort of attributed that statement to me, and I want to be very clear that that's not correct. What I have said, and I'm on record saying is, I mean, this is a particular site. To your question, those concerns have been addressed. They've been talked about. That's the sort of thing that might come out were we to have a conversation going forward, which I am still hopeful will occur. That's incorporated into the cost, as are many things. It is my understanding, and I could be wrong, that the site acquisition, that land acquisition is not in the cost of construction, but it does include design, sales tax, and then, of course, a multiply going forward. When it's phased in 2 phases, that's 5 years out, and at 9% a year, it adds up pretty fast. The build it once, in a single build, as was provided to us in a feasibility study. We haven't even considered it as a board to say, yes, no, what do we think? I think it's too high. I've not endorsed it. It is not a proposal to you as a board to, vote up or down on. There is no proposal on the table, folks. That's what's true. We haven't met as a board. 43 million is what's stated as a build it once. I don't think that the land acquisition costs are included. We do have a willing partner in Snoqualmie, or in North Bend, and that is at Torgerson Park, and I think that's okay to say because the land whole thing is, you know how this works with land acquisition. You go into executive session to talk about it, so thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Councilmember Ross and Councilmember Hallway.
I didn't have anything.
Okay, I thought I saw your hand up earlier. Councilmember Hallway?
So, as was stated, there is currently no proposal before the city of Snoqualmie. There was, however, a presentation to the school district. I think Bob's motion speaks factually to that presentation. That's why I had issue with the last one. There was some opinion mixed in with the facts, and the whereases should be facts. Again, I'm a little confused at clarifications on the proposal. When no proposal was made to us, it was presented to the school, and we're reacting to that presentation that was made to the school.
I'm sorry, Mark, not at this time. Councilmember Sunwell?
So I had hoped these amendments were going to go quick, because then I was just going to let them go, and then there's not a stronger proponent of the Snoqualmie Community Center expansion and aquatics facility than I am. There's a few that are equal to that, but I'm a huge proponent of it. I've been working on it intimately for over a year. I have no idea why this is on the agenda. There's been no proposal. We have a meeting on the calendar in November, which I don't even know why we would hold if we pass this. I'm not opposed to canceling the meeting, but I don't even understand why we would be doing this and then having a meeting in November. So
I can answer, but I think.
I'm not trying to jump the shark. No, how's that go? But anyway, I know we're still on amendments, but let's get on with those so we can get to voting yea or nay on the actual bill.
Councilmember Holloway?
So, again, point of fact, there was a presentation to the Snoqualmie School District. And in that presentation, there was note of a partnership for about $19 million. That was subsequently concerned to be referencing the city of Snoqualmie. Our partners that we've had discussion in the community center are asking us, what are we doing? This is merely clarifying that a $19 million proposal, or even an option, it's not a proposal at this stage, but a discussion at $19 million is not what the city of Snoqualmie is interested in. It is not in the price range we are discussing as even an option. And that's all this does, is saying that's not an option for us.
Yeah, I just think there's a different way to go about it, because there is no proposal. There's no proposal to accept or reject. So we're going to reject a statement made to a completely different governmental entity, not made directly toward us. 19 million is way too much. The pool they propose, I went to the meeting, is gorgeous. Team USA should be contributing millions of dollars to it. Okay, it's gorgeous. It's just too much. And we're never going to, I would never support a bond for $19 million. I just wouldn't. But that's beside the point. We're being asked to reject a proposal, a Skyview Parks District Aquatic Facility proposal that was sort of given to a third party, not to us. I presume that's what the November meeting's about. So if we're going to pass this, let's just cancel the November meeting.
Okay, Councilor Mayhew, and then let me know when you want the administration to weigh in on these questions.
Well, I think it would have helped to have you weigh in up front. So here's what I understand is going on tonight. My understanding is that we passed an agenda bill, and we instructed the mayor to go pursue this community center expansion with adding a pool. We asked him to go, he has a rough proposal that he thinks could be done with about $10 million of city money, and he has some idea of some other sources of money. Project cost, I think, of around $16 million. And there's questions about what the size would look like, what those funding partners would look like. And we said, okay, we're satisfied with that. Mayor, go actually flesh out this proposal. Find out, come back to us with a specific proposal that we can then vote on whether he should proceed to do. So we told him to go explore this. And as my understanding is what's happened tonight is that a presentation was made by Skyview Parks to the school board, which is one of the organizations that he's looking for funding with. And that presentation has frozen the school board because they're confused. They want to know which project is it that Snoqualmie's coming to them with. Are we coming to them with the mayor's proposal, or are we coming to them with Skyview's proposal? Because we were presented as being part of both proposals. And I can say I was at the school board proposal, and I heard that happen. So I think all the mayor's asking us to do right now is to say, guys, do you want me to keep doing the thing you asked me to do, which is flesh this thing out? Or do you want me to stop and go a different direction? And what he's telling us is, for me to keep going in this direction, I have to be able to give a clear answer to the school district as to which project it is that this council is asking him to pursue. I think that's all he's looking for. We're not making any decisions tonight about whether we're going to accept his proposal. We haven't seen a proposal with enough detail to know if we would or wouldn't. I think it's fantastic that there are conversations going on with Skyview. I think they should. But I think that we should give the mayor an indication. Do we want him to keep doing what he's doing? And we should give him a clear indication that he needs in order to talk to the people he's talking to about, as of today, which of these two proposals do we support? So I think that's all that's being asked for. That's certainly all I think we ought to give, is that direction. And I think we ought to make up our minds and give him that direction. And I understand that we're not unanimous on this. So let's just get on to the vote and decide.
Councilmember Shepherd.
So I'm not interested in ending discussions with Skyview, and I see a lot of value in what they're doing, and I see the dollars, and they are alarmingly large. But it takes a lot of money to build an aquatic center. And I just don't think that I think it's premature to say we're not going to be talking to anybody about this. It seems a little bit on the playing hardball. And I would rather keep this option open. And what I like about what Skyview is doing is that if they do move forward, it will be a vote to the voters to approve it. So I'd hate to lose this option.
What'd you say?
This will be brought to the voters to approve any bonds that they do.
Councilor Lissay.
We're having significant discussion about the main motion, and we have not addressed the minor motions in play. Can we clear those first before, I'd like to express my opinion, but I'd also like to have at least some reference to Robert's Rules of Order in here.
Your point of order is sustained. So if we could focus on the specific amendment that Councilmember Jeans had brought forward. Councilmember Jeans, could you restate it very quickly to get everyone back on track here?
You bet. Skyview did not reveal the location which is important to the citizens of Snoqualmie, or whether there would be an additional cost.
Councilmember Ross?
So we talked a little bit about the phone survey that happened, and over 70% of those surveyed supported the pool, supported the expansion, adding a pool. But also they were asked about, would you support spending local dollars to partner with Skyview on an aquatic center outside city limits? And we don't know for sure whether it would be in Snoqualmie or whether it would be outside city limits. And 51% were opposed to spending local dollars to partner with Skyview on an aquatic center outside city limits. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind.
Councilmember Holloway?
I'd like to call the question on the amendment motion.
Second? Or no?
Do I have a second?
Second, yeah.
We have a motion, a second, and calling the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, question's been called, so we're back to the voting on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
No.
Could you please raise your hands, those that said nay? Okay, the motion passes. So that amendment is approved. Bob, did you have one? Did
I
you
have one more.
One more.
And actually, I think this
Are you feeling
addresses,
lucky? Where you go?
this addresses Sean's
Thanks,
comments
Bob.
made earlier.
That was for your wife.
There's a dilemma as to whether we will go forward with rejecting an offer where there's not been an offer. That aside, I want an additional sentence at the end of that Section 1, declining whatever it is we have an opportunity to decline if we do. I suggest this sentence: the city would be receptive to further discussions bearing on the scope, location, and cost to the city.
Second.
Motion is second, as stated by Councilmember Jeans. Any discussion, Council? Councilmember Jeans, receptive to further discussions with Sivey, was that specifically?
Yes.
Okay. You'll be okay to add that? Okay.
Further discussions with Sivey. Okay.
Any further discussion, Council? Councilmember Holloway.
So, again, we're just talking options here. It matters not to me whether the mayor, Skyview, or our sister city comes by with a proposal for $19 million for the community center. It's a non-starter for me. Having said that, I'm reluctant to commit that I will entertain options until we get to some basis of what is a viable option. And so far, I haven't seen discussions of viable options. So I'm willing to entertain, but I'm not willing necessarily to commit until we're at a level where these things start to make sense.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Mayhew?
I just wasn't clear if that was an argument for the
find out.
amendment or against the amendment.
That will be a nay.
We'll find out.
All right. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
Can I see the nose hands, please? Okay, the motion
Everyone got
fails.
Notre Dame except Jim.
I must have said something right.
All right. So before further discussion on the main motion, if we're back to that, if I could add a few details. One is, I think it was a great question asked about how if out of the 10 million from the city, we carve off 6.5 million to pay for the dry space expansion, could you possibly pay for a pool with the balance of $3.5 million? So just to make clear what our proposal's been all along, in this, the anticipation is that we would secure a minimum of 2.2 million from the YMCA. The proposal that we presented to the school board, which I think has been received as viable, is 2.8 million to the Snoqualmie Valley School District for a contribution to get us to a 6-lane pool. This resolution would even speak about 6 lanes if we didn't think that was viable. And to Councilmember Mayhew's points, the whole point of this exercise isn't to do some insult or injury to Skyview. It's to give clarity and confidence to the school district to allow them to make a decision and give me some confidence that I can make a decision on moving a certain direction. So that would bring the sum total to $15 million. And we're also hopeful, I've already been had numerous conversations with state legislators to pursue somewhere in the neighborhood of an additional $1 million from the state that would push that to 16 million. And with well-timed with Councilmember Kathy Lambert, there's the 44 or 40 plus $1 million, I think 44 million in the recent parks levy from the county that everybody's scrambling for. Much of that's probably already got hands and designations on it, but I think Kathy's agreed that realistically the most we could probably look to get would be about $500,000. You can tell me, yeah, okay. So we're shooting for maybe $500,000 from that levy. So that would push the number to 16.5 million if all those monies fell into place. That would put at a minimum $8.5 million. If you took the $3.5 million balance from the 10 million plus that $5 million, a minimum of 8.5, upwards of close to 10 million. That would be designated for a pool separate from the 6.5 million for the dry space expansion. But keep in mind, if we went with a Skyview proposal, it'd be 19 million of our having to do 19 million with them. We'd still be left with a $6.5 million bill. So total, it'd be actually closer to 19.5 million. It'd be close to $26 million in that option if you're doing a wet dry space proposal compared to option B, wet dry space proposal. And I'm sorry, Council, I'm going to kick it over to the city attorney to speak to the issue about, I think the language that we seem to get tripped on is the word proposal. Call it whatever you want. If you could speak to that, Bob.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Just a point of clarification, since I had the pleasure of drafting this, and obviously it's the council's resolution, and the council can word it however it chooses in the end. But just for background, where the description of proposed and proposal comes in 2 places in the draft. One is to refer to the aquatics facility that is proposed in the feasibility study Commissioner Jocelyn described that feasibility study. It's described in the recitals. The other place where the word proposal is used refers to the proposed City of Snoqualmie participation, and that was drawn directly from the Park District agenda packet for its September 4 meeting, in which there was a memorandum to the board from Executive Director Travis Stumbaugh that laid out a financing plan, a proposed financing plan for the proposed facility that states, and I'm quoting here, "For full build assumes equal capital partner from Snoqualmie." And then the capital layout for the district says capital financing for $20 million, as previously a levy rate of 0.2642 per thousand value. So when we're talking about the proposal, it was proposed that the City of Snoqualmie would be a, quote, equal capital partner, unquote, with the district in the amount of $20 million financed by a capital levy. So just for council's background, that's where that verbiage came from, and obviously council can change that if it prefers.
Councilor Mayhew.
So just to repeat, what I understand this agenda bill will do is simply instruct the mayor to proceed with what we previously asked him to do, proceed with laying out the proposal that he would bring to us, a full proposal, including what the size and features would be of this expanded community center, what the participation would be from other, we've referred to them as partners, but others in the community, and how this would be funded. I think that the purpose of this is to tell him to keep going with that isn't still what we want him to do, and to signal to any of the partners, other community participants who may be confused, that we are not part of a different proposal in which we would give 19 or 20 million. But thirdly, that I would like to see us continue discussions with Skyview Parks. But in the meantime, I would like to see us move forward with this, and I think that's all this. I think that's all this does, and I'm in favor of it.
Councilman Lasay and then Councilman Jeans.
I can't tell you how much this project costs, because I've heard multiple different numbers. I can't tell you how much our own proposal.
Which project?
Any project,
Oh.
whether it's Skyview's or Snoqualmie's. Because I'm hearing different numbers, I'm hearing confusion, I'm hearing conversations that should be had between people that are being had across tables and by letters and by just, it seems like we've got an opportunity here to serve the needs of the community. But we want to have our stick in the ground first, or we have one group wants a bigger stick, and then, well, I got a better stick than you. And it's just, we're missing an opportunity here to work together to find a solution that provides for those that are in the community a facility. Now, this proposal, I'm talking about our agenda bill, I feel puts a blockade to that. It indicates a situation that we may have taken out of play, an opportunity to have that conversation with Skyview going forward. The other thing I don't have is I don't have a proposal from the mayor that tells me how much a community center in Snoqualmie would cost. We gave him direction previously to find that out. I think we should be waiting until he provides that for us before we know what our own idea is. I think we should be waiting until Skyview has their conversations and provides an actual proposal to this government body. Because of that, I urge you to reject this, and let's go back to the drawing board and come up with a way, or simply have a conversation with our fellow jurisdictional governments and go forward. But I am in no way support of this resolution.
Councilor Holloway, Councilor Jeans, and Councilor Sunwell.
Again, I appreciate what Mayor's recounting of the conceptual discussion to date. However, I agree with you in part. We are not here tonight to receive, judge, or do anything in regards to the mayor's proposal. It is to reinforce the action to go flesh that proposal out. What we are here tonight to do is to state a position in regards to a presentation that was made to the school district with the assumption that Snoqualmie would contribute in the sum of $19 million. And again, I don't care who the proposal comes from, I will not support a $19 million proposal, or option, or discussion. That's what we're here tonight, and I will refrain from calling the question only because you have others on the docket. Go ahead.
Councilmember Jeans, Councilmember Sunwall, and Councilmember Ross.
I think there's so much constructive dialogue here, and frankly, I think we're going to be okay whichever way we go, because I think that there is that if we were to vote yes on this, which I'm inclined to do, if we vote yes on this, we should continue the discussions with Skyview, especially because Skyview has said here in testimony that Mark doesn't like the numbers, and we ought to hear an offer from them, and that this is a great opportunity for not just the city of Snoqualmie, but for the Snoqualmie Valley. We have to think of ourselves really as participants in the city of Snoqualmie and North Bend and the upper valley. This is an opportunity for us to do something for the upper valley. We have to continue to have very productive discussions in the November 1st meeting and flush out some misconceptions and try to state as clearly as we can kind of where we are and what we're looking at in terms of the scope of the work and possible locations, the overall costs and the apportionment of that cost, including other possible partners, people that we're not talking to or talking about this evening, including the tribe and the Riverview School District. That's all I have.
Councilmember Stonewall and then Councilmember Ross.
I'll go after Councilmember Ross, if that's okay.
Okay. So I agree. I also support declining the Skyview proposal. And it gives Mayor Larson then the opportunity to continue seeking funding with our school district and the YMCA and things like that. And all along, we've been committed to expanding the community center, adding a swimming pool without increasing taxes. And that's what I'm committed to. And I know we're not voting for the community center tonight, but I've committed to that. And if we do the Skyview proposal, we're going to have a bond, right? And that will be increased taxes. So I am in favor of declining the proposal.
Councilmember Stonewall.
So I'd like to make a motion that King County give us $5 million.
Perfect.
Second. Can we vote on that? Is that binding?
Can we clap? or
I'm
something?
kidding.
A motion and a second.
You're
but
out of
it's
your
not-
jurisdiction.
But it's not serious, yeah.
Well, we've had cross-jurisdictional issues today, so I thought I'd throw one out there just for kicks. My comment is I'd like to call a question. I think we're all dug in, so.
Actually, could I
No.
ask that you?
No,
You can't.
he called the question.
No, you made a motion.
Second.
Question's been called and seconded. All those in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was unanimity right there.
The motion passes.
The motion passes, correct.
Now we're back to the original main motion and voting on that without further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No?
Okay, I count 5 ayes and 2 noes. All right, motion is passed. Sorry, I gotta get my,
And with that, I am done with F&A for tonight. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I am.
No other-
yes, we are. We did one.
no other reports for F&A?
No other report for F&A.
All right, Public Safety Committee reports.
I do have one that I want to talk about real briefly. Medicaid one levy. This is going to be on the ballot November 5th, and the voters will decide whether to continue funding for the King County Emergency Medical Services System. And they're proposing a 6-year, 26.5-cent levy. This is not a new tax. It is a renewal of an existing levy. And what it does is every time you call 911 and it's medical emergency, it's Medic One or the EMS services that come and help you. And this is helping to pay for those services.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry.
I just want a clarification from the city attorney. Is this campaigning for an item on the ballot?
I'm sorry, we were conferring about another item. Could you please repeat what you were discussing?
I'm just talking about Medic One that's going to be on the ballot and what it does.
Councils can certainly discuss issues that are on the ballot because councils can vote resolution, or you could vote a resolution to support or oppose a particular ballot initiative out there. But it has to be unanimous in order to, and you have to afford an opportunity for both pro and cons to have equal testimony. But
That's correct.
My question
And
was for the city attorney, so, yeah.
I mean, the mayor's correctly summarized the statute, and I thought what I was hearing was a description of the measure, which
That's what I'm
is a
doing.
normal, regular
I
conduct.
apologize. I want to just clarify, make sure
Right.
we're all on the up and up here. That's all.
The limitation is on advocating support or opposition to the proposition.
I recant my point of order.
Okay, so the Medic One, so Snoqualmie already receives funding through Medic One through our basic life support system, our support. So we have BLS, and we receive in excess of $150,000 a year that helps provide EMS services. The advanced life support is provided by City of Bellevue, Medic One. So this would be like if you're having a heart attack, for instance, that you would actually see the ALS that comes in and helps you. I'm just bringing this up because this is going to be on the ballot, and you can decide, you can make your choice about it.
I'm sorry, Councilman Ross, I'm going to interrupt for a second. It
That's it.
seems like Mark lost his phone. Did anybody see a cell phone lying around?
There's one on the, Mr. Commissioner Jocelyn, on the podium.
On the podium, Mark. Councilman Ross, I'm so sorry. Go ahead and continue.
Only if you phone
No,
me
that's
in.
it. I'm just advising you that it's going to be on the ballot, and it provides funding for Snoqualmie as well as for the advanced life support systems that we use.
Now, again, sometimes the councilman raises that issue because it's sort of doing a test balloon with the council. Is everybody, if there seems to be unanimity of support or opposition to a particular ballot out there, sometimes you want to lend your voices. Citizens, residents are quite busy in their lives, and oftentimes they look to you to say, hey, you're paying attention to this stuff. What's your opinion on that? And that can have some value in terms of your position as a council to the community. So something you can always consider. It's been done in the past by the council. All right. Anything else on that?
Nothing else, public safety.
All right, moving on to Committee of the Whole. I don't think we have any other items for Committee of the Whole. You can see there's written staff reports at this time. However, at this time, are there any other questions from the staff or comments, announcements? All right, any other general community announcements?
I have a question.
Councilmember Shepherd, go ahead.
Yeah, we didn't have a finance report. And I wanted to know what the status of audits are for the city.
Drew, the quarterly report was just sent out to the council this last week, was it not? That's
Sorry,
not
what was
attached
the
in the.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what was the question?
That there was not a finance department report attached under Committee of the Whole here?
Is that,
Yeah,
Thanks.
there's no department report.
So, apologize if we failed to attach it to the agenda. We did send out, I believe, to all of council, if I can recall correctly, a third quarter financial report that essentially dealt with how much we had spent against the budget recently.
All right, so what we'll do is I'll ask the city clerk to make sure and attach that to the agenda bill, so it's there in the record so if any member of the public wants to go online and review this agenda packet, they can find that quarterly report. Could you make sure and provide that to Jody? Drew, thank you. Councilmember Mayhew?
and perhaps that could also be distributed to all the council members?
It was on
It was.
Tuesday.
We did.
Oh, it was, it just didn't get into the
Right,
agenda?
that's what
Thanks.
Drew was saying, it was.
Thank you,
yeah,
thank
okay.
you.
Councilmember Shepherd?
And the other question I have for finance is, what's the status of the state auditor's audit of the city?
We don't have a current active audit going on, do we?
So, no, I don't think we've scheduled the state auditor yet. Might be looking towards November for the accountability audit as well as the financial audit at this point, but we have not scheduled them yet.
Point of clarification, those are annual audits.
Correct. And I think there's a bit of a backlog with the state auditor, hence the reason why there's been a delay at this point.
I mean, it's often up to them to reach out and schedule it too, is that true? Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Councilmember Sunwell?
No, I was just clarifying that nobody's in trouble. This is just part of an annual cycle of.
Happens every year.
Yeah.
Councilmember Mayhew?
Yeah, sorry, just because the F&A report, the Finance Department report came up, I just want to just verify that the information we received at F&A, that that there was an internal controls update, is that part of that report? Because we received a very positive report on progress on internal controls.
Well, I believe we can also attach that too as a part of our standard report.
I think it was very informative, and I think council members would be very interested in knowing.
Yeah, it's good for the
Can certainly do that.
And then also, just curious, if we also received a monthly update on public record request backlog.
That's in here.
Is that also in there?
That's in the city clerk's report.
Oh, in the city clerk's
report. If you open
report.
that up and look at it, it's
Right,
down.
and it shows there's no backlog being created, that our limits are sufficient for the PRRs that are coming in.
Right, so if anybody asks about that, you can direct them to this council agenda and have them open the city clerk's report.
Great, thanks.
I think we're looking at putting it on the website as well.
Yeah,
people
more
can access
easier
it.
to find. Councilmember Shepherd?
So as far as the IT department's report, I was curious, we've got a couple of things that we don't have on there as far as status, and one of them is software to automatically generate agenda bills and also to handle public records requests. And I was just wondering if we could get that back onto the department's status report.
Okay.
For the documents, it's in my report.
Go ahead and state that, please.
For the software for
In the microphone, not to her.
For the question regarding software for public records, that is in the city clerk's report. That'll be coming to you to authorize an RFP at the next council meeting.
Okay.
All right, any other announcements before we move on? All right, if there's no other announcements or business coming before the council, at this time, we're going to go into executive session pertaining to evaluate charges or complaints against public officer or employee pursuant to RCW 42.30.110, Section F. Estimated to last approximately 20 minutes, and would ask City Attorney Bob Sturbank and Deborah Vigil to remain behind for that. We also have an executive session regarding RCW 42.30.110, Section, is that L?
No, it's
One
I.
little I, regarding potential litigation. That will last approximately 15 minutes. And again, Bob Sturbank and Deborah Vigil remain behind. There may be action following. All others are free to go and enjoy their evening at this time. So, yeah. And Councilmember Lambert.